I think the 100th day is coming up. How's that unity? You feeling united? I'm not feeling too united. I'm not feeling a lot of unity. How about, the infrastructure plan? You basically say everybody's for infrastructure. The Democrats won the election, but classifying every long-time progressive agenda item as infrastructure is probably not a great idea if you want everyone to take you seriously.
Yeah, well, not only that, it's not honest. And the basis of actually unifying our country is speaking to people honestly, as opposed to trying to get everything that you've always wanted and being devious about it. Now, I understand politics. I've been dealing with Washington, D.C. forever, and you've been watching this thing too. And Republicans do this too. You get everything that you want, you shove it into one package, you call it something else, and hope that nobody notices. But the truth of the matter is that right now it's more crucial than ever that we speak frankly with the American people, especially coming out of the coronavirus epidemic and trying to get, a new spirit of American unity started. And, what we have is $400 billion in child care, and we call that infrastructure, and $174 billion in creating just incentives so people will drive electric cars, and we call that infrastructure. And look, just say, we want federally funded child care because that's a progressive thing. We won the election is what we're going to do. But don't pretend that it's bridges and roads. That's ridiculous. Do
you think when it's all said and done that the two sides get together with some type of compromise? Senator Cornyn from Texas said the Republicans would do $800 billion for bridges and roads and airports and probably even high-speed internet. I guess you could throw that in there now. Maybe there's a few things you can classify as modern-day infrastructure. Do you think we'll end that way, or you think we'll end at 51? Vice President Harris makes it 51, and they reconcile the heck out of something that includes everything? I think it's even odds that it's going to go one of these two directions. I know that the Republicans really do want infrastructure, but the Republicans are just not going to put up with something that's not infrastructure and calling it infrastructure. And so if Democrats insist on that, then they're going to have to, force something through with 51 votes. Not very much of it will get done over the next few years. The House and Senate will at some point flip, and so will the White House, and then we'll ping pong this thing back and forth again. If we want actual progress, we have to make compromise, and that just doesn't look like it's something they want to do. I mean, you played the French horn for the symphony in Barcelona, but you still don't want to sock it to corporations. You're like an enigma. You're an artiste, but you still don't want to just really stick it to the corporation. You say that if we pay for it by going to 28%, I think I'm quoting you, it's going to hurt. It's going to lead to less investment and slower growth, and we'll lose jobs. Potentially, yeah. I mean, 25% of corporate taxes, according to the best estimates, the best nonpartisan estimates, 25% of corporate tax increases get passed right through to workers and lower wages. So that's a problem right there. When we're trying to recover, we have, the unemployment rate's too high for all of the reasons that we all know about, perfectly normal reasons, coming out of this horrible epidemic. This is the wrong time to do something to create disincentives to create jobs, number one. Number two is this whole idea of disincentivizing economic activity, growth, and opportunity at the corporate level, and giving more incentives to offshore stuff. I mean, it's the wrong time to do this, obviously. And yet, once again, we lie to the American public and say, there will be no real cost to this, because we can look at some point in American history where there was a corporate tax increase and say it wasn't so terrible then, and so it won't be so terrible now. It's a risky thing to do. You think we go to 25? Is that what the end result looks like? It's going up one way or another. And what else would you deficit spend the rest, or would you try to do a usage fee or raise taxes on wealth? I don't know. How would you do it? Personally, how would I do? The first thing I would look at is starting to sell federally owned properties. And, the federal government owns so many trillions of dollars in stuff that we could actually start talking about putting into private sector hands to make them both more productive and to release some assets. And that's a conversation that has apparently been off the table forever. That's a good place for us to actually start looking. The deficit spending is a huge problem. I mean, the interest rates are at historically low rates, and we all know that about a 1 percentage point increase in interest rates is going to result in $300 to $400 billion in debt services for the federal government. And so there's just not an easy way out of this. We have to find some other way. A, compromise, B, more creative ways to actually pay for the spending that we do need that we would get through a compromise.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.